知らない言葉を覚えてゆくたび面影の中手を伸ばすの
Hello, and welcome to Wallacast, a podcast where we talk about English-dubbed anime and the voice actors who work on them. I am Lauren Salter.
I'm Matt Walker, and today we'll be talking about the hotly anticipated Violet Evergarden.
Yay!
This is maybe one of the most hyped shows that Netflix has produced that I know of, at least the dub, I should say.
Mm-hmm. Anticipated by us. We were waiting for this for a while.
Yeah. If you're in the US, you, like us, had to wait forever to get the full season of the dub released at once versus everywhere else, as far as I know, that they served, as far as like English-speaking countries got the dub week to week.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty close to when the Japanese was going on.
Yeah, it's pretty close to a simuldub.
Netflix did their own simuldub, dubcast, whatever you want to call it. I'm thinking they did that as an experiment to see how it went, and maybe the US will get simuldubs from Netflix later.
That would be awesome.
That was sort of my theory on this whole thing.
That would be great.
Yeah.
It was one of the few times where we in the US had to listen to other people saying, hey, we've watched the first season. It's so great. Haha, you can't watch it yet.
Yeah, that one, and actually another Kyoto Animation work, Silent Voice, was another one the UK got way before we did. Oh well. I guess we're spoiled. So, okay, our usual pre-spoiler sort of pitch, I guess, if you want to watch the show. Violet Evergarden, 13-episode show by Kyoto Animation, easily, at least in my opinion, one of the best animation studios Japan has right now.
Definitely aesthetically.
Yeah, aesthetically, by far. It is about a young girl, Violet Evergarden is her name, of course, who was
that's the title.
Yeah, right? Is a former soldier. Her commanding officer / in a lot of ways, reason for being is no longer with her, and she has to find her place in society, and she decides to become what is referred to in this sort of alternative country of Germany called an auto memories doll, a person employed by a postal service to write letters on behalf of a person who does not know how to write or type a typewriter. And so through that she discovers her own sort of emotions and learns how people interact with each other, and it's an interesting concept. So there you go, that's your quick pitch. Go watch it on Netflix. It's pretty much Netflix exclusive. This is one of their Netflix originals, quote unquote. Though I actually don't think they commissioned this one. I think Kyoto Animation was going to do it anyway, and Netflix just decided to get the sort of international streaming rights.
It did seem like this one was a show that I thought they were going to do anyway, and then I think I heard about Netflix.
Yeah, this was in sort of the, I don't know about in production, but it was hyped for a long time.
I think, did we hear about it at AX or before that?
I feel like it was even before AX last year. And it's funny, the teaser trailer has a clip that as far as I can tell, is not even present in the entire show. But
that's not surprising. But yeah, it feels like
very video game teaser of them.
It feels like we've been waiting for Violet for at least a year, if not more.
Yeah, I feel like at least more.
There are a couple shows that are like Heaven's Feel is like that. But Violet Evergarden, I feel we've been waiting for longer than Magus Bride, even.
Seems like it, yeah, I agree. Anyway, alright, so from here on out, there be spoilers.
Yes, here there be spoilers. So what did you think, Matt? Overall, what did you think?
This is actually a tougher one to sort of give an overall score / evaluation than some for some reason. A lot of it I really liked. It definitely appeals to my sort of... I tend to seek out really feelsy shows, so this definitely had a lot to do with that. I think visually, it's easily one of the best anime series I think I've ever seen, as far as visuals go. So, I mean, I'm not surprised. Kyoto Animation's ridiculously good, and they just continue to get better. But, that said, it wasn't a flawless show, and we'll definitely talk about that. But overall, I think it was quite good. I enjoyed my watching of it. And for a show that was more episodic in nature, with the exception of like the last few episodes, I really liked that, and I was surprised at how much I engaged in a lot of the little vignettes that it told. What about you?
I liked it. I do wish that, and I mentioned this to you mid-watch, I wish that I had just binged it from start to finish in almost one sitting or a couple days sitting.
Mm-hmm.
I watched the first 7 episodes and then had, a week maybe between? I had about a week of a lot of work stuff going on, so I picked it up later. And I felt a lot of disconnect to that second half just because it was like, oh, I remember really getting into this the first half, and then, oh, now I need to just watch it. So I don't know if that was the show or if it was just me and the stress that was going on. I liked it overall. I think I agree with what you said. It's not flawless. I have things to say about it. I think I expected to be a little more emotional with it from what I've been hearing. I feel like now I'm getting the sense that when a lot of anime fans say, oh, I was so emotional, or oh, I cried at this, or oh, I was sobbing, I tend to not. I don't know. I think maybe my emotions towards a show come from different aspects of emotion. I don't know. I don't feel oh, she was so desperate to figure out what love is that it just made me cry. For me, it is a little more of a subtle thing or a sudden thing that makes me cry in a show.
Yeah, for me, the emotional moments often weren't directly involving Violet. In fact, it was a lot of these little vignettes that I was quite impressed that were as emotional as they were for a very self-contained 20-minute story. A lot of those moments just kind of crept up on me and went oh my god, this is actually hitting me, and I've only I've only known this particular character plus Violet for 20 minutes or less.
P.S. Good word, vignette.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one that kept going through my head. It's funny you mentioned the whole you wish you binged it. I wish I had gotten to have this one episode a week. I feel like because of the episodic nature, maybe with the exception of the last few, I would have liked to have a Violet Evergarden episode once a week for a good amount of time.
That's a big... You guys don't know, but Matt, you do like to binge things.
Oh yeah, I'm a binger.
Yeah.
I will purposely not watch simuldubs and dubcasts and simulcasts for a good amount of time so I can binge chunks and before anyone comments later, I've heard all of the arguments for doing it week to week and why people like them. Yep. And if that's your thing, cool. But if those things don't work for me as well as people think they will, and I've tried, and there are some shows I will do week to week, and I think they work really well. A lot of slice of life shows that don't have a ton of intricate plot is a great example of, they're especially, and comedies and things like that.
And this almost... I mean, like you said, this is a pretty episodic show, so it does feel like it could be easily watched week to week. And I think I agree. I would have liked to watch this week to week.
Yeah. But yeah, as far as emotion, you're right. There was a lot of emotion hype, and some of that delivered and some of it didn't.
Yeah, I agree.
At least for me.
No, I agree. I think I saw a couple... I didn't look hard because I didn't want to be spoiled.
Of course,
but there were a lot of story points where people... expressed a lot of emotion. Really, my biggest connection with the emotion came with Erica Harlacker's performance.
Oh, yeah.
Because Violet is so stoic in the first 6 episodes that I was actually thinking, oh, I don't know if I can watch this girl for 13 episodes being so stoic. She's emotionless, but not. Erica put in a wonderful performance where this emotionless character isn't actually emotionless.
Yeah, this is one of the classic anime tropes of sort of the kudere character, where you have to balance that emotional reservation and sort of robotic nature with very subtle expressions to keep the viewer sort of engaged and interested in you, because if you are totally robotic, it's like, well, who cares? Because you're a robot and why do I even want to listen to you? Actually, speaking of robotic, random thought, when I first saw some of the teasers for this, you saw her metallic appendages, her arms. I actually thought she was an android.
Yeah.
I really did think they were going to go that route, and I didn't know anything about the source material. And also the fact that they use the term doll, which a not insignificant amount of shows I have seen have used the word doll to refer to someone as a humanoid android.
Yep.
So I figured, oh yeah, she's not a real person. She's an android in this weird sort of alternative future past thing here.
Totally.
But then to realize that she's an actual human. She just lost her arms and these are prosthetics was kind of a shock for me.
Yeah. I really like how they did flashbacks back to the old battles too.
Yeah.
Because it really... And I like how they place them, of course, because it gives so much shock when it actually happens. You see her lose her arms right away, but you have flashbacks, especially towards the latter end of the series, where you show the story leading up to that, and it really makes it more powerful. Like, oh, this is actually a girl who lost her arms. Like this. You know.
Yeah. Like, I had a little minor sort of, like, I guess, realism criticism there. Like,
what, that she would have bled out pretty quickly?
How the hell did so many people survive all of this? Yeah. She would so be dead.
Yeah.
But, okay, fair enough.
But the show also suggested that dolls had a little something else that made them faster and stronger and more susceptible to blood loss.
At least her. Yeah, maybe.
Because I'm thinking of the doll who helped her, I don't remember his name, who helped her defuse the bombs. Because he just jumped right out of that train at the end.
Oh, right.
So when Benedict jumps out of the train in the last, or I think the penultimate episode to defuse the bombs with Violet, I feel like that's a doll move. You know, like he's not human, or else he couldn't do that.
Yeah, there is a certain superhumanness to a few characters in the show.
I think they're dolls. I think that's the thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like a Captain America type of thing.
Maybe that's it. They don't really go into detail on that.
Nope.
So maybe that's a source material thing that they do. As usual, for anyone who doesn't know, Kyoto Animation is they're a more independent studio than most, so they tend to pick their own projects rather than waiting for a production committee to come to them and go, hey, we want you to produce this show. Okay, we'll pay you this much. Good show. It won't be enough because they won't be able to pay their animators. But anyway,
that's a topic for another time.
Kyoto Animation has their own festivals and contests, and they're very particular about what they decide to produce. So the source material always has to be very good. So I'm interested to look into that.
Yeah, it was a good show for them. I mean,
this fits them so well.
Again, visually, this is one of the most stunning shows I've seen, and even compared to Ufotable, just gorgeous.
Yeah, I mean...
Very Lull in the Sea type colors.
And it's funny because we watched Silent Voice, which is a movie, which is not too long ago, and in general, movies tend to have higher budgets and look better, but this blew that out of the water.
I agree.
And it's just like, KyoAni just raises the bar again, I feel like, on everybody. They keep doing this. Like, if you go back and you look at something like Haruhi Suzumiya, like, that looks like a lot of animation, your average anime studio today, but that's like 10 years ago.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, like, this is gonna be the precedent set for a long time to come. And I don't know how they do it. Well, I know that they pay their animators a little bit more than average, which is nice. But yeah, their stuff is just ridiculously good.
I was really excited when you told me this was KyoAni, because I haven't seen many shows from them. And every time I have, it's like, oh, this is a pretty show.
Yeah, it's always going to be a visual feast. I usually throw out the word atmosphere because they are brilliant at creating that. And it is true. They had some really nice sort of... like intricate motion sequences in this. I actually have a note going like, oh my god, those hand shots. Just the shots of her hands and how smooth they animated those and how intricate they decided to go with the details on her animatronic hands and arms are really, really just something to behold. And I love that they spent the time to do that.
Those shots really were. For me, it was action sequences with the slow-mo to real-time, back to slow-mo with the action was just... Yeah,
they threw in a little bit of CG effects where you got the sort of almost slow-mo or freeze frame, and you got this camera spin, which is only possible when you do a CG animation because, of course, when you do computer animation, it's still just a flat surface.
Yep.
And that was really great. Had some really smooth shots here and there that, like, really, really kind of pushed it over the top. So yeah, animation, 10 out of 10. It's really tough to beat this.
Tell me about the acting. What were your thoughts?
Oh my god. There's one in particular...
It's very broad, sorry.
Yeah. There's one thing in particular I want to narrow in on later, but overall, like Netflix, who contracts a lot of LA voice actors, pretty much exclusive LA voice actors, I should say, I think they're out of Bang Zoom, if I remember right. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure they use them. They use Bang Zoom to do their dubs.
Correct us at wallapodcast@gmail.com, and we would love to see it.
Or jump on the stream, whatever.
Yep.
If we ever get that working. yeah, overall, great casting. I was slightly like, is Erica Harlacher the best person for this role? But then, yes, I think that was a really good pick.
So who did you think of when they were announcing the cast? Who did you say, oh, that maybe?
My brain went to Michelle Ruff, actually, as Violet.
All right.
I really like her emotionless / emotionally reserved characters.
Like, are you thinking Sinon or?
Sinon and Nagato and those kind of characters. Just, I think she nails that really well, and I like her deeper registers.
Yep.
But I think Erica really, like, I don't know what it is, but Erica Harlacher has, like, really upped her game in the last few, like, the last year, really.
Experience.
Yeah, Kakegurui is the other one that I watched. You didn't watch that, right? But I watched. I absolutely adored her in. And then to see her as Violet, which is quite a different character, but really shows her chops and just, like, really thumbs up to her. Not that she's ever been bad. She hasn't. But she's also had kind of, like, she's had a lot of, like, waify sort of characters that aren't the best in terms of sort of meat when you're talking about acting prowess. And just personally, not my favorite characters. But Violet had a lot of nuance to her, and I think she really, especially in the like sort of the latter half of the show, really brought that in.
I think that one of the reasons I enjoyed the latter half more is you got to see more development from Violet, and thus you got to see more of Harlacher's performances. I mean, she's, obviously it's very good at the kind of robotic, just not monotone, but very reserved and
that's a hard character to play, I think, because I've seen it done not so well, and I've seen it done very well. Yeah. And it is night and day as far as the experience goes.
Yeah, you can easily have an actor turn that into a robotic character and just totally not have any nuance and just kind of boring.
Yeah, especially with someone like Violet, who isn't literally an emotionless character.
Right.
Someone like Yuki Nagato in Haruhi Suzumiya, which I mentioned, who literally is a artificial construct that is, in theory, emotionless. Yep. Even then, you kind of feel like there is something there. But Violet is a real person who just sort of...
She's been through trauma.
Yeah, she's been through trauma. She isn't raised with normal society, so she has issues there that restrict her emotions. And
one of my favorite parts of Erica Harlacher's performance is just seeing all of her range with emotion. When she just portrays so much heartbreak. Actors, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Also, just side shout out to Erica. If you ever meet her, she's just the biggest sweetheart.
She is.
I randomly ran into her at AX, and then we got to sit next to her during the Anohana premiere at AX last year.
That was pleasant.
That was kind of cool.
She's a very, very wonderful person.
Yeah. We were only sitting with the voice actors because I actually know Xanthi Huynh personally, so I decided I wanted to, hang out with her. But then Erica showed up and decided to sit next to us, which was a really cool experience.
It's very sweet.
We got to sort of gossip and dote on how awesome the cast of that show was. So for a future episode, check out Anohana.
Yeah. Don't worry. Oop, no. that is your reminder to please check out Anohana.
That's an impromptu sound effect.
Hey, it was a nice one though. So yeah, it was really nice to see that side of Erica Harlacher. I haven't seen many things that she's been in. Again, I'm much newer to anime than Matt is, so my experience with her is, Ami from Toradora.
Which was a great
great role.
Or I don't know its first, but early role.
A great early role. And Violet just was, it's one of those roles where a voice actor from something, in my case, Toradora, and I don't like the character of Ami because who does?
But you know her from...
But you
I'll know a Zero, right?
I do, yeah. I know her from a couple other things, but not big things that I could point out. And so this one I was so happy to see because I got to see more of her chops, which I love.
Whenever she's not playing the wafy princess role, like in Al No Zero, like in Seven Deadly Sins, I adore her. she tends to get cast in a lot of these roles, and they're never my favorite, and it's not her fault at all. She plays them fine.
Yep.
She does what she can. But yeah, in roles like this, in roles like Kakegurui, seriously, I don't know if we're going to do an episode on that, but go watch that show. Seriously, just for her. And actually, a few other, the cast is just really awesome. But anyway, this is easily top 3 best roles for Erika.
Yeah, it's my favorite that I've heard, but again, I haven't seen it.
It's between that and Kakegurui for me. But
I should watch that.
That show is just so out there, but I love those roles. If we're staying on the acting train, though,
yes, we should.
I'm gonna save my like big detail thing for last.
Okay, it's probably. I want to know if it's the same thing that I have.
Might be. It's early on in the season.
Okay, maybe not.
But can we talk about Cassandra?
Yes, little Anne.
It's great for an actor to have a main role that has the whole season involved, and you get to grow and all that. But sometimes you get these little minor roles that, in this case, of course, lasted a whole episode.
Mm-hmm.
But, oh my god, I love Cassandra as little Anne. Seriously.
Oh, she's so good.
This show... Okay, so if you haven't listened previously, / if we haven't talked about this thing on episodes because our episode recording is not in the order that we've released them,
yep.
I have a directing background in live theater. And when you're doing this, you sort of live for the moments where you see an actor just nail a line reading perfectly. Mm-hmm. And what's awesome about voice acting is you can record that and you have it forever. But of course in live theater you don't.
Right.
But this show, I actually had like 4 or 5 different times like, oh my god, you just nailed that perfectly. Like, if I was the director, I would be jumping for joy in that booth.
Check the gate, that's it, we've got it.
Pretty much,
let's go home.
Exactly. And Erika had those, and Cassandra had those. The other people I'm going to mention had those. Yep. But, oh god, I really loved Cassandra as little Anne. And that toward the end, that scene where she breaks down.
If I'm going to be all alone anyway, then can you please stop writing some letter and spend time with me now?
It's just, oh my god, that hurt.
That was the episode that I felt the most emotion in.
That might have been number 1, too.
Yep.
That was one of, like, 3 that were just like, oh my god.
Yeah.
It hurts.
That was one that I finally felt, oh, okay, I get it. Oh, that's the heartache that people are talking about.
And again, we barely meet these people.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. That's the best part of the show.
I almost was a little annoyed when I heard it was Cassandra because I was like, oh, she's playing a little girl again. But she plays her so passionately and so perfectly in this role. Like, she can capture that childlike emotion that really children they know what's going on, but they don't really know what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
So they have those outbursts. Nails it. Like,
totally.
She, we talked about her in an old failed episode that we did for SAO, where
yeah.
Sugaha breaks down at Kirito, and just like, hands down one of my favorite Cassandra moments of any show that I've seen her in, Madoka not included, but that's different. But this was all of that into 24 minutes. She's just so good in this episode. Yeah,
this is, if you are not a fan of Cassandra Lee Morris and haven't watched her in a lot, this will probably instantly make you an acolyte to her because, again, it just amazes me how much she can do in such a little time.
This was one of those where she made me forget that I was watching anime.
Yeah.
It was watching a story and watching a character react to her mother's death. Like, it wasn't anime. It was just this powerful, passionate moment of child and mother. And that episode was just so heartbreaking. All of those letters. I knew that it was going to be for Anne. I knew those letters were going to be for Anne. Oh, yeah. So I don't think that's a big secret in this episode. No. But it's still, it's like, oh my god. I'm a sucker for that trope, though, that I'm going to write you a letter every day on your or every year on your birthday. I'm a sucker for that. I've read a couple books where that happens, and I cannot name them offhand. Yeah. But I've heard of that before a couple times in media, and it's like every time I'm like, oh my gosh, it's just so beautiful. I just love it so much. Do you know the musical Elegies? No. Oh god. How do I not know a musical? Wow, I'm embarrassed. I'm so sorry. It's definitely billed as a song cycle. It's not like a book musical, but there is a scene where actually there's a few songs that actually interconnect, and
it's autobiographical for the composer, and it's about his friend who died of AIDS and commissioned him to write a song to be sung at her funeral to be sang to her daughter.
Oh, Lord. Nope.
And it's so, when you get the context, it's just like, oh my god, that's so, like, this reminded me of that so much.
This storyline is one that I'm just like a puddle on the floor when I get clued into what's going on. I'm like, oh no, I can't do it. Don't read it out loud, please. And then they read it out loud.
Speaking of, small shout out to Wendy Lee, who was the mother in that.
Oh, so good.
Yeah, very good. I always love hearing her.
Mm-hmm. Same.
Okay, so we've talked about Cassandra, we've talked about Erica. I also want to give mention, again, this is my fourth is the big one.
Yes, it's probably the same as mine.
The third is Keith Silverstein.
Yep, that's the same as mine.
Who, this is not my final one. This is not my big one. But Keith, I adore Keith. I love you, Keith. You're so good. Before I get to gushing, one criticism, he plays way too many freaking roles in this show.
Oh, okay.
Seriously. If I had one criticism of a lot of Netflix dubs, is seriously, you guys need to cast some other voice actors as minor roles.
Okay, so I was going to save this till later, but we're on the subject now, so we're going to mention it.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. Is it, I wonder if it's a budgetary thing for Netflix not to cast multiple actors for different roles? Because Jeremy Lee, love her, had about 7 roles. I counted 5.
I have a note that says, why is Jeremy everyone?
Okay, so you have finished Children of Wales.
Yep.
And I have not. I've watched 2 episodes. But you mentioned that Christina V has the same type of thing. So here's the thing. Netflix, what's going on? I love Jeremy Lee. Give me more of Jeremy. Can you cast other people for other minor roles too? I mean, it was a little bizarre because Iris is a pretty big role.
It's big enough.
It's big enough that it could have been her only role.
Yeah.
And then I kept hearing her.
Yeah, Jeremy, Keith had a bunch of minor roles too, though I actually want to focus on his main role. And there's someone else.
It almost made me double take.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. Because you hear Jeremy as Iris pretty early, and then there was another character who I was like, wait, is that? And then I thought that they had a different actor playing Iris for an episode.
Okay, so I think I know what you're talking about. Kira Buckland plays Luculia, who's sort of Iris's friend from her little school.
Yeah.
However, one random episode, Jeremy plays Luculia.
Okay, that's it then, because
And that was like, wait, what?
Okay, that's it, because I thought that I recognized Luculia, and I was like, wait, but that's not your voice. I don't know what's going on.
Yeah,
and
so Luculia shows up in 3 episodes.
Yes.
And the first one where she has the big one it's Kira Buckland.
Love her.
And then oh my god, play Nier Automata, people.
Or anything with Kira Buckland. Oh, I love you, Kira.
She's so good as 2B. She plays it in that episode. I don't remember which number, I'm sorry. And then you have the episode where they go to this sort of observatory where they're like copying down old manuscripts.
Yes.
And then randomly it's Jeremy as Luculia. So obviously Kira wasn't available to record that.
Mm-hmm.
And fair enough, that happens. This is the whole like simuldub problem.
Yep.
In a lot of ways. I was kind of thinking like, couldn't you have called her back to re-record that before we got the US release? But I guess not. I'm really hoping maybe for the home video release we fix that.
Yeah.
And then in the 3rd episode where she shows up kind of where Violet writes a letter for Luculia's brother.
Yep.
She's back to Kira.
Okay, so that must have been it. I thought it was Iris, but because I had already associated Iris with Jeremy.
Iris.
Iris Evergarden.
Iris, I think, is Jeremy the entire time. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I think so.
But anyway.
Okay, sorry. I just wanted that was my big thing that I kept telling you. I have something to say, and that was it.
Okay,
because I kept hearing Jeremy, and I knew you were going to say something about it.
Yeah, Netflix. I love all your dubs and all your anime, but seriously, you could hire some randos to do your minor voices, your bit voices.
You might say to God. Walla voices.
Yes.
Hey.
I was thinking that.
You're welcome.
Okay, before I move on, the other big one was Johnny Young Bosch, who played I don't remember his name, but the soldier who Violet sort of like army style parachutes in to save and then writes a letter for.
Yep.
Which is great.
Speaking of, another really good episode.
Yeah. But then he dies, and the next episode, he's some random minor soldier guy.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, this guy just died. You can't be the same person.
And I know we're joking about this a lot. It does take away a little bit of that emotion.
It does, and I don't want to feed the criticisms of the sub-elites any more than they already have, because this is kind of the thing that they latch onto. It's a minor thing, and these guys are these are such small roles.
Yeah. But
for people who are sort of veteran anime watchers, especially who are fans of these dub voice actors who know the voices, I can hear this. And they're doing their best to change it up a little bit. And actually, Keith does a better job than most about sort of disguising his voice.
Yep.
But guys, this is a great opportunity to give newer voice actors a chance to have some screen time.
Yep.
We don't need the main characters to voice Walla bit parts.
Yeah, I agree.
Anyway.
Keith.
Yeah. So Keith plays Captain Bougainvillea. I don't remember his first name. But it's the Major's older brother. And
great role for him, I thought.
Speaking of which, fairly recently I feel like I've just started noticing Keith all over the place. And he's so good. He's really good. It's kind of ridiculous.
I will admit, I can't call him out of something. I honestly didn't know it was him.
Yeah.
Because my Keith we're seeing is Torbjorn in Overwatch.
Torbjorn!
That's it. That's that's it, but that's kind of what I hear. Keith is a member of Unlocked. A contributor, I should say. And I tell you, every time I watch those streams, his voice is so nice.
And just an awesome human being.
Yeah.
I actually got to meet him once at Anime LA, and he's just a great person.
Yeah.
But anyway.
I'm still too new to pick him out, but Matt, again,
I definitely can. He's a lot of random minor characters, but he is Bougainvillea, and he again had some of these amazing line readings that just freaking landed so well. Especially in it's episode 10 or 11 or maybe 11 or 12 where they're on the train.
Oh yeah.
And you get these scenes where he's simultaneously attacking Violet because he's got issues with her, of course, which have to be resolved. But then he's got this sympathetic feeling toward her, and I don't know, he just captured everything so well.
That's why you weren't able to protect Gilbert! You killed my brother! That's why you should die too! Hurry up and die!
Seriously, Keith, I love you, man.
That was a character that I didn't think... Obviously, I don't think you're set up to like.
No.
And then he does some actions, and he has some moments where you're just, oh man, okay, I feel it.
No, it's a very nuanced character, and there's a lot to him that you don't see at first. And I love it. But okay. Unless do you have anybody else?
Oh no, lay it on me. What's your big one?
Okay, my big one...
Oh, I'm so excited.
is...
I thought it was going to be Jeremy, so...
Well, yeah, it's episode 4, and it's Jeremy.
Oh, hello.
It's Jeremy as Iris in her sort of special episode, and I don't think this is crazy saying this, but this is her best performance. By a mile, to me.
Wow. Okay.
That episode is amazing. She just does so well. And I even might edit some clips in here, so we'll see.
Oh, please do.
But
okay. Oh, darn it. You keep going, because I had a
okay.
thought. Okay, no, wait, no, yeah.
Oh my god, episode 4 is so good. Okay. Jeremy is so good as Iris, and all the stuff leading up to that is fine. It's standard, but I don't know, whatever it was, but
you know what it is? I think it's the standoffish character who has a personal growth and revelation through an episode where then all of a sudden you see them as somebody who cares, and it's just...
That helped, but up until... So the start of this was when I sort of... I'm watching the show, it's all good, and then I hear her say...
Because he already turned me down!
Oh, yeah.
And that was the first, holy crap, that's perfect. That was a perfect line reading, You're amazing, Jeremy. And then it's just you keep getting better in this episode. And I don't know, for whatever reason, just I love this role for her so much just because of that one episode.
I love characters who they're supposed to be supporting characters, but they don't get a lot to do until they get their own episode. And actually, I thought about Strike Witches when I saw this episode, because each of those girls get their own episode, and that's when you really start to connect with them, and then you care about them for the rest of the season. It doesn't matter if they never have more than like 4 lines in the next couple episodes, because you know their backstory now and you connect with them, and that's it. And that's how I feel this episode with Iris was. You kind of don't like her. You're not supposed to really like her. And then she has this fantastically performed episode, and then you can't help but root for her.
Yeah. That was the moment of the show that made me want to watch more.
Huh.
Because, again, like, I've seen Jeremy in so many shows.
So many shows.
Not in a bad way, in a good way.
Yeah.
And she was one of the very first voice actors for me that I started sort of latching onto and wanted to see more from them specifically. This all started with actually Shakugan no Shana season 2, where she would replace the original voice actor who was Canadian. Anyway, this is easily top 3 performances for her.
Wow.
Maybe even number 1. I don't know. I'd have to look that. Wow. But I don't know what it was. And it wasn't, with the exception of a few big moments, there wasn't a lot of like big actor moments, you could say. But I don't know, I was just so compelled by her here. And I don't know what it was, but oh my god, she was so good.
I think part of the reason that we do this podcast is because we can recognize the subtler moments of an actor, and we can pick up on the nuances that an actor can bring to the table. We love the big emotional bursts and the big sobbing tears and emotional scenes of death and whatnot. But when an actor can be subtle, we pick up on it because we both have an acting background, and we both have a theater and musical theater background. So I feel like, not to say we're superior to others, we have the awareness of the skills that it takes to portray a character that way. Like, a character's not all about big scenes.
Yeah, like, I kind of equate it to, I'm not an IT person, but I know some people who are, and they understand the difference between sort of amateur code and professional level code. And that's sort of the analogy to here is we both have an actor and I have a director background, and so we are in that realm, and so we understand the nuance and the detail of that aspect that may be lost on your average viewer. Again, this is not a superiority, this is just pure professional experience.
Yeah. And that, I started thinking about Emily Neves. She's the same way, with the subtlety of her and the subtlety of, let's go back to Jeremy. My first 2 shows with Jeremy were Sword Art Online and Fairy Tale. Those are very big roles, like big in character. That's kind of when I started to fall in love with Jeremy. When I watched Steins Gate, that was the role where I was like, oh, shit. Okay.
God. Suzuha's so good.
This girl, this is acting. This is acting. Because it was so different than Asuna and Lucy. And, that's the kind of experience from an actor that I love to see. That's why I like Harlacher in this so much, because she really pulls out that little bits of nuance that I just catch. I would like to think I catch it quickly, but it just makes it so powerful to me. And that, I absolutely agree with Jeremy's performance here.
So we've talked about acting quite a lot. I think we're going to move on to some of the actual plot from the show. And if I had a little critique for the show, I would have liked to see them explore Violet's, as they call it in the show, burns because of the war. Like, I really like those little moments that she was suffering because of all the things that she's done. But they never really delved into that.
For some reason, I really wanted to see more of the war. I wanted to see more of what she did because, A, she was kind of a badass. Well, like, she was a little scary, I should say. So I kind of wanted to see more of that and more of the emotionless taking orders type side of Violet. But I can see wanting to. actually experience what she went through more.
Yeah, I hate to say it, but the least interesting part of this show was Violet trying to find the Major.
Yeah.
Like, that's cute and all, but
I mean, you know how I feel about someone, a female character especially, being defined by a relationship with a man.
I was going to ask you about that. What did you think of it, of Violet's character that way?
I thought it would have been it was a good thing for the first couple episodes, but the fact that it lingered so long made me a little bit annoyed. Because I saw Violet growing as an individual, and she says it in the last couple episodes, I don't need to take orders anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And I wish that also applied to, I don't need to yearn after the Major anymore, because I am a big proponent of women being individual. Go figure. So that was hard to listen to for 13 episodes of that fixation on the Major for me.
Yeah,
I don't know if you were the same.
Yeah, even for me, that was a bit much. And
she met so many people, and I think part of the reason that I liked those little episodes with Anne and with the minor characters more, the episodic nature of it, is because she didn't really mention the Major at all. It was really focused on that family or that person who she was writing a letter for. So for me, the fact that she wasn't focusing on him and she was focusing on other people made it so much easier to watch.
Yeah, I agree with all that. I think, the obsession with the Major is a bit heavy-handed. Kind of related to that, I had a note that said, like, oh, this is mature Moe.
Yeah.
Violet is Moe for a more mature audience. She's still incredibly endearing and cute and pretty, of course, and sort of awkward because she doesn't really understand people. And it all comes down to this sort of, you still want to, you're endeared toward her, and you kind of have this feeling of you want to protect her. And that's Moa to a T.
I didn't feel that, but I can see where people would feel that.
Yeah. And it just has this plot device of withholding information that a lot of shows do.
Oh, like when they didn't tell her the Major was actually dead?
Yeah, it's like, oh, God.
Who was that helping?
I know.
Who was that helping?
I always feel like this is just a crutch, and I feel like this is a poor plot decision, is withholding information from people that you should obviously just tell them.
Yeah. Like you said, especially to a character who clearly wants to know or needs to know. Like, this is their only purpose, so you should probably tell them the truth. That whole first episode, I thought the same thing. Like, wouldn't you save a lot of heartache in the long run just to tell the girl?
Yeah.
From a logical point, what good does it do to hide the truth? That's not really a rhetorical question. I'm kind of asking.
Yeah, really. But in general, again, I wish they explored more the sort of PTSD nature of someone being forced to fight in war and do really, really terrible things.
Yep.
Maybe in the name of the greater good, maybe not. It doesn't really go into that, but I would have liked to see more of that. You get little lines here, and all of a sudden she kind of has a breakdown in one episode, but it's not as nuanced as I think it could be, and not as explored as I think it could be.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a question. What was your favorite of all the vignettes? Again, I'm going to keep using that word.
It's a fun word. Well, I think I expressed my admiration for the little one with Anne and her mother.
Yeah.
That one really stands out to me.
Mm-hmm.
For me, that's hands down. That's the one. I did like Iris's a lot. I'm a sucker for the letter every year on your birthday type trope, so I don't know. I really liked that. And I love the little montage in the middle of Anne just calling for Violet, because she needs somebody to be with.
Mm-hmm.
She's so lonely. That poor little girl is so lonely, so she just latches on to Violet.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that you think that Violet doesn't really get it. She doesn't have a clue of how to deal with a child, but she does little things with Anne that's just like when she puts the ribbon in her hair.
Yeah.
And Anne says, I don't really want you to put the ribbon in my hair. To which Violet replies, I know.
I know, yeah.
What was yours?
That was up there. There were a few, I guess, highlights. There was that one, Iris's / Jeremy's, that was definitely up there. The play with the playwright and his daughter was a big one.
I really did like the soldier that she kind of parachuted in to save. I liked their moments when he was dying. I liked that show of vulnerability for Violet, and he asked her to hold his hand while he was dying, and she did. That's the kind of thing that she wouldn't have been able to do in the first 5 episodes because she wouldn't have understood. And that for me was a great moment of character growth for her.
The other one I liked, just for a sort of storytelling standpoint, was the royal wedding.
Oh, yeah.
Between Stephanie Shea's princess and her betrothed. I like that they sort of flipped the arranged marriage on its head. That the princess really, really actually wants to marry this guy, but she's not good at expressing why. And they don't like this whole poetic fake love letter thing that is sort of forced upon them.
Oh, they're real love letters.
Exactly.
They're real talk.
Yeah.
Hashtag real talk.
Exactly. And I actually really liked the flipping a very tropey story on its head.
I loved their relationship, and I will say that actually the moment that got me the most in that episode was when the princess was finally, when they were tying up the marriage, basically, and her handmaid, I think Alberta was her name? I think that was her name. When they shared that moment when the princess kissed her hand and knelt to her, and that just, there wasn't any dialogue. I think there was actually music playing over that. But it just showed the princess kneeling and kissing her hand, or putting her hand, to her forehead. And that little moment for me was just so powerful. And I love moments like that where you don't need words, you just need to see what's going on.
In a lot of ways, that's the best parts of this show, is these little moments like that. And in fact, this is probably how I try to sell it to people, is about these little intimate moments of very real feeling people, even if they're in a context that isn't as relatable as you would think. And I feel like that's ultimately the reason to watch this show.
I agree. I would obviously pitch for Erica Harlacker's performance.
Yeah. And
also those little moments, like you said. There are just so many of them sprinkled in that they catch you off guard, but in the best way.
It's interesting that there's a lot of lines from the Captain Bougainvillea, Keith Silverstein's character, and he mentions the hands of someone who killed a bunch of people or whatever are the same hands that are trying to bring people together through letters, and he seems to be very mad about that. But I think it's funny that actually, if you take it literally, they're not the same hands. Yeah, she has different hands to do both those things. I think that was an interesting little subtlety which also in there.
Makes it powerful when she also gives up those hands, the animatronic hands, to save him.
I also, and I missed this later in the show, but I love Violet's corrections.
Yeah.
Just, she's so literal.
I love a character who takes things too literally.
Yeah.
They're always fun.
I love that, that is not an accurate statement or something like that. Because, of course, people tell white lies all the time, and it's really fun to see someone point them all out.
And, of course, she has great comedic timing, which she doesn't know, but all of us do.
Yep. That's well use of an emotionless character.
I think, overall, I would rate this... see, I was about to say a 7, but I'm kind of going towards 6, too.
Ooh, really?
I know. I think as far as performance goes, I would rate it a 7. I don't think.
I feel like I'd rate it way higher than that if I was just based on acting.
I mean, I'm thinking if I have that the little tilt between 6 and 7, I would go 7 for performance. I mean, performance-wise, the show is like a 9.
At least,
easily. Again, we've talked about Erica Harlacker, we've talked about Jeremy Lee, Keith Silverstein. So many great performances. I think plot-wise, it left a little to be desired for me and the shows that I like. So I really think this will probably end up being a pretty solid 7. I wish that I could kind of give it halves. I might go 6.5, but 7, I think, for me, is where it would end up.
Yeah, see, I was waffling between a 7 and an 8, which is pretty typical. I'm usually a point above you.
Yeah.
So
I'm very critical, apparently.
Apparently. The plot-wise, especially sort of the middle, left a bit to be desired. A lot of vignettes were really nice, but I felt like they could do more with Violet as a character.
Mm-hmm. I think they could have developed her a little bit faster.
Yeah. And there were little things that sort of annoy me. Again, like the whole not revealing information plot point is really dumb, and I don't like that.
Yep.
And the obvious sort of Moe-ness to her was sometimes overblown, I think. But yeah, performance-wise, sets it above. And yeah, it would be between a 7 and an 8. I'll probably end up giving it an 8 because the animation also pushes boundaries. And I'm a sucker for really, really good animation.
Yeah, you are.
But I would definitely recommend this show. And obviously a lot of people like it for its emotions, and I'm definitely a sucker for that. A lot of the little vignette stories were, again, impressively emotional for how little time they had to develop that.
I think a big positive will be that it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
So it's easily accessible. I do feel like if people don't have Funimation, they'll have Netflix.
It feels like everyone has that. I'm sure that's not true, but it just feels like everybody does.
And that really is so great about how awesome it is that a show like this got on Netflix, is because now it's so accessible for people. You know, I had a friend, one of my sister's friends, who messaged me the other day and said, "Hey, I saw you posted about Violet Evergarden on Netflix, so I decided to watch it, and oh my gosh, I'm going to blame you for the tears." That's the kind of thing I love. I know, I laughed so hard. You're welcome.
Yeah, I've recommended this to a couple of, one current coworker, one former coworker, and I'm hoping they both check it out.
But I just love that Netflix is starting to pick up a little more anime because, you know, I have, like you said, I have coworkers who ask for recommendations or something, and it's so much easier to recommend something that's on Netflix.
Yeah, it is.
So, props for this.
Yeah, and Netflix has made a huge investment in anime recently. I'm sure big fans have noticed that their Netflix originals have jumped. This is one of their originals that it's original in the sense that it's the license for the US market and sort of international market. But still, I like this investment. I'm all for Western companies funneling money into Japan and Japan's animation companies.
Same.
I know Kyoto Animation would not do this if they weren't pretty much all in on it. They were intending to do this way before Netflix got involved. And I'm hoping that someone picks it up for the home video release. If precedent is anything, Sentai Filmworks will be the ones that do that. They have picked up quite a handful of Netflix properties as far as DVD releases, but we shall see. I'm hoping somebody does, because man, I want to own this one.
No,
I think it's worth it. I'm a pretty sucker for Kyoto Animation.
That's true.
They have a soft spot in my heart.
That's true.
Love KyoAni. We'll future episode Clannad will be coming up, and you will see me gushing like crazy.
Yep. Very excited for that.
Fall 10th anniversary coming in the fall, I think, of After Story anyway.
Do you have anything else?
I don't think so. That's it for our talk on Violet Evergarden. If you'd like to add anything to our conversation, you are more than welcome to reach out to us via Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube. Just throw Wildcast into your search and we'll be the first one you see. As always, a big thank you to Bryce, David, and everyone at Unlocked for supporting the show. Thanks again for listening, and if it is your wish, join us next episode where we discuss one of the best shows of the last couple seasons, The Ancient Magus Bride, with the great Brian Mathis, the voice of Elias himself.